Hello, my lovelies. Right, welcome to M.A.D PI. Now, I've come across a channel called Mr. Fear. Now, he does all ghosty, paranormal stuff. Like, you know, he's a bit like Slap Tam, but not obviously on that level, but you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, so if you haven't already, please go to his channel and like and subscribe to him if you haven't. But if you haven't got him already, you know, you might have, so I might be talking at my arse. But all good. So, yeah, 5 scary ghosts captured in hospitals. Let's see how we get on. Lovely jubbly.
Imagine walking through a hospital at night, quiet, eerie, the only sound being the hum of distant machines. Imagine witnessing something completely unexplainable, something so bizarre it shakes your belief in reality itself. That's exactly what happened at a hospital in India when security cameras captured footage of a haunted stretcher that defied all logic. The video begins innocently enough, showing a quiet courtyard of the hospital. Stretchers are neatly lined up, awaiting their next use, but something isn't quite right. A strange, almost imperceptible movement catches the eye. One of the stretchers begins to shift forward, as if nudged by an invisible hand. At first it seems minor, a slight movement, perhaps the wind or the natural settling of the equipment. But then, the stretcher moves
wind
again,
ain't gonna push that unless it's a bloody tornado.
Farther. Over the course of nearly 2 minutes, the stretcher rolls back and forth across the courtyard, moving at least 10 feet in each direction, as if controlled by an unseen force. The motion isn't erratic, but methodical, almost purposeful. The stretcher seems to glide effortlessly, with no one in sight to explain the cause. The unsettling movement continues until, without warning, the stretcher rolls off the platform and crashes to the ground, falling onto its side with a loud thud. A second security camera positioned at a different angle captured another eerie incident. This time the camera shows stretchers lined up outside, as usual, with no apparent cause for concern. In the background, a man walks toward a water dispenser to fill up a bottle. But just as he approaches, he notices something moving out of the corner of his eye. A stretcher, slowly but deliberately rolling forward on its own. The man, startled by the motion, immediately steps toward the stretcher, intending to push it back into place. But as he nears it, something even stranger happens. The stretcher rolls even further away from him, as if actively resisting his touch. Confused and visibly unsettled, the man steps back, unsure of what he's just witnessed. He picks up his water bottle, looks once more at the erratically moving stretcher, and quickly leaves the area. In both of these incidents, the behavior of the stretchers is completely unexplainable. There's no sign of human interference. No one is near the stretchers when they begin to move, and no obvious physical force could account for this strange gliding motion.
What do you reckon? I mean, that wasn't no wind, was it? It couldn't have been a wind. That couldn't have been wind. You know, unless it was a bloody tornado, you know, a hurricane. Because you know, them. I mean, I know them trolleys are pretty, but yeah. I mean, the geezers. It's like, see you later, mate. I'm off. He's not hanging about. He ain't hanging about.
Footage captured by the security cameras leaves us with more questions than answers.
Number 2.
For many, it's not just the medical equipment and sterile hallways that hold significance. Sometimes it's the spirits of those who once walked these halls that linger long after their time has passed. In this chilling incident captured in Honduras, the footage reveals what may be a haunting visit from a former doctor's spirit, a ghostly figure whose tragic end may have bound him to the very place where he once worked. The video begins in a typical hospital setting. A man is walking down a hallway, and the camera captures several stretchers lined up along the wall.
Wow, look at that.
The hospital appears quiet, almost eerily so. Patients are not seen in the immediate area, and there's a sense of calm, despite the unsettling emptiness. But that peace doesn't last long. As the man points the camera down the hallway, something strange catches his eye. A sudden flash near the entrance of a door on the right side of the screen.
Peekaboo!
It seems like a brief glitch, perhaps a trick of the light. But then, the flash becomes more distinct. A shadowy figure appears, moving in and out of the doorway, as if cautiously checking to see if anyone is around.
Look at that.
The figure seems to float, its movements unnatural, almost as though it's hovering above the ground. It steps out fully into the hallway, and what's even more unsettling is that the figure takes the unmistakable shape of a man. The man recording the video is visibly startled by what he's witnessing. The figure moves in a way that is both fluid
Oh
and
my
eerie,
God, look
like
at that.
something between a dream and a nightmare. It's not walking, it's gliding down the hallway with an
Floating.
otherworldly grace. The camera shakily follows the movement, and it's clear that the man is frozen in fear, unsure of whether what he's seeing is real or a trick of his mind. As the figure moves further down the hall, the man takes a few cautious steps back, his heart racing. He hides behind a nearby door, still filming, his breath shallow as he tries to process the impossibility of what he's just seen. According to local rumors, the figure captured on camera is believed to be the spirit of a doctor who once worked at the hospital. The story goes that this doctor tragically took his own life on the hospital grounds, though the reasons behind his suicide remain unknown. Some believe that his spirit has never left the place where he spent so much of his life and that his presence lingers in the halls, trapped in the hospital where he once worked tirelessly to save others. The idea of a doctor's spirit returning to the hospital after death is both tragic and terrifying. If this figure truly is the doctor, then his appearance could be a manifestation of unfinished business, a soul unable to move on from the place where his life took such a dark turn. Others, however, might argue that the figure could be something else entirely, a trick of the light, a distorted reflection, or simply a coincidence. But for the man who captured the footage, the experience was anything but ordinary. However, the man who captured this footage was left terrified and shaken by what he saw, and his decision to step back and hide behind a door speaks volumes about how unsettling this experience truly was.
Now, you know, it could be a spirit. It probably was, but my opinion, it looked like someone just peeping around the corner with a mask on, didn't it? Yeah. But then, you know, the other side, it did look bloody freaky. So, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Yeah, go on. Go on.
This chilling footage captured outside a hospital in Peru raises questions about the interference of invisible entities. The video begins innocently enough. A parked ambulance sits in front of the hospital, its engine quietly idling as a staff member, perhaps a paramedic or driver, goes about their business. There's nothing out of the ordinary at first, just another routine moment in the busy world of emergency services. The ambulance door is left open, and the staff member walks away, seemingly leaving the vehicle unattended. For a few seconds, everything appears calm, as though the world is holding its breath. But then something bizarre happens. Out of nowhere, the door of the ambulance swings shut, on its own. No wind, no movement nearby, just the door closing as if an invisible hand had pushed it. The staff member who had just left the vehicle doesn't return, and no one else is in sight to explain the strange occurrence. The people passing by, oblivious to the unsettling event, continue their walks as though nothing unusual is happening.
I thought it was
The
going to
timing of the
drive
door
off.
closing is critical. It happens just moments before the pedestrians pass by, which is why they don't seem to notice anything out of place. But for those watching the footage, it's impossible to ignore. At first glance, one might try to explain this strange occurrence away. Perhaps it was the wind, which is strong enough to push the door closed. But the footage doesn't provide any evidence to support that theory. The surrounding environment shows no signs of wind, no swaying trees, no movement in nearby objects. Nothing to suggest that nature was responsible for this eerie event. The scene appears still and calm, making the self-closing door all the more unnerving. But that's not the end of the mystery. As the camera continues to record, something even more disturbing happens. If you look closely through the window of the ambulance, you can make out a figure moving inside. At first, it's hard to tell if it's just a trick of the light or...
Alright, now is it me, or that's two separate doors opening on two separate times, isn't it? One side is the driver's side, the other shot, it's the other side. What, has he jumped in both sides? That's what it looks like, doesn't it? Yeah? Do you reckon? It does, doesn't it?
A reflection, but as you watch longer, it becomes clearer. There's movement. Something or someone seems to be inside the ambulance,
jumped in there, man.
shifting around. And then, as if on cue, the door opens again. This time slowly and deliberately, as if the unseen figure is trying to make its presence known. Could this be the spirit of a recently died patient being brought to the hospital? Some speculate that the unusual movement is the consequence of a lingering soul, still bound to the vehicle that transported them. After all, ambulances are frequently the last places where life is on the line, and some people's souls may be unable to let go. Alternatively, it could be the spirit of a previous hospital employee, such as a driver or paramedic, who never left the scene of their daily responsibilities. The absence of a precise explanation for this incident adds to the mystery. Ambulances are normally staffed by 2 people, so it's quite unlikely that someone entered the vehicle unnoticed. However, no one is seen when the door closes or opens, leaving the question unanswered.
I'll tell you what, come to think of it, like ambulances and things like that, or especially ambulances, you know, like private ambulances, you know, the ones that take the bodies. You know, if you could do a paranormal investigation inside an ambulance, that'd be pretty freaky, wouldn't it? You know, imagine all the spirits, as the guy just said. Imagine all the people that's gone through them doors, or who hasn't, you know, haven't come out the other side, sort of thing. Cool. You know, to go to an old ambulance graveyard or something, and do a shot from there.
Hospitals are places where the line between life and death is often the thinnest, where patients fight for their survival and loved ones wait in silent fear. But what if, in the quiet corridors of a hospital, something otherworldly began to stir? Something that no one could explain? That's exactly what was captured on CCTV in an Indian hospital, where a shadowy figure appeared out of nowhere, sending chills down the spines of everyone who saw the footage. The video begins innocently enough, showing a quiet hallway. It's late at night, and the only movement is the faint shift of people sleeping in the corridor, their loved ones lying on mats or chairs, perhaps waiting for a recovery or keeping vigil over someone sick. Down the hall, an entrance to the morgue sits quietly, the door slightly ajar. The scene seems calm, even peaceful, but that tranquility wouldn't last for long. Suddenly, something unusual shows on the CCTV tape.
Oh,
Suddenly,
bloody hell,
a
look
black
at that.
shadow appears. At first, it's difficult to determine exactly what it is. However, as it advances, the figure gets clearer, taking on the distinct shape of a man.
Yeah.
No one in the corridor appears to notice, as the individuals sleep quietly, unconscious of the odd presence only a few feet away. The shadow figure makes no sound
bloody
as it
hell.
begins its creepy trek down the
Whoa,
corridor,
see that?
passing by the sleeping humans without
Look at
leaving
that.
armor. However, the shadow figure does something
Okay.
even more
Woke me up a
unsettling.
bit.
As if waiting
Cool.
for the ideal moment, it abruptly accelerates, zipping past the sleeping humans with inhuman speed.
Jesus, man,
The
that's
figure
bonkers.
moves
That's
so
not.
quickly
Yeah,
across the
that's
hallway that it appears to break the rules
Wow.
of physics.
That's
Within
good, that.
seconds,
I like
it
that.
flies past the camera and disappears into the hospital's darkness.
Blimey.
Some say the shadow figure represents the restless spirit of someone who died in the
Is that-
hospital, a soul
That's
that
not-
refuses to depart. The fact that it emerged so near to the morgue, where the bodies are stored, only
hell,
strengthens this
mate.
notion.
Come on.
Could it have been the spirit of one of the
Come
bodies
on,
awaiting
bloody
processing,
hell, wow.
strolling the halls long
Wow.
after it had died? The figure's spooky speed and unearthly
That's
mobility
wicked.
add to the
That's
terrifying
fucking
possibilities.
freaky as shit. Blah. Number 5.
Picture this, a quiet, seemingly ordinary film set at the Metropolitan State Mental Hospital in Pasadena, California. The year is 2008, and a group of students from Pasadena City College are filming their student project, a short film called Postcards. The location seems perfect for their eerie setting. Darkened windows, creaky old hallways, and a building full of history. Little did they know, however, that they weren't the only ones on set. The film's cast and crew were already getting a strange vibe from the hospital. While shooting, they'd hear
look at
odd
the
noises
state of
echoing
it.
through the building, doors creaking, pipes groaning, and the faint clanking of metal. At first, they chalked it up to the building's age and the quirks of its old infrastructure. After all, these things happen on every film set, right? But there was something about the place that felt
I look
off, something
proper
they couldn't quite explain.
creepy.
After the shoot wrapped, Trevor Heasley, one of the crew members, went home and began reviewing the footage from that day. What he discovered in the video would shake
Oh,
him to
wow,
his
look at
core,
that.
and it wasn't the typical behind-the-scenes
Wow, look at that.
bloopers or
That's
moments
wicked.
of comedic mishaps. As he watched the footage, his eyes froze on a peculiar moment,
God.
one that he had completely missed during the filming itself. The footage showed what looked like a vapor-thin figure, almost transparent, floating across the hallway
Brilliant.
of the hospital.
Brilliant.
As the crew filmed a scene, the figure appeared seemingly out of nowhere, drifting silently in front of the camera. 2 cast members were captured running down the hallway, completely unaware of the ghostly figure just a few feet in front of them. The ethereal form seemed to glide across the screen, passing by
Yeah,
them
that's
before
brilliant.
they even had a chance to notice. At first, Trevor couldn't believe what he was seeing. He thought it was some kind of mistake, a camera glitch or a trick of the light, but as he zoomed in on the footage, it became clearer. There was something in the hallway, something that was not supposed to be there. The figure was too distinct, too deliberate
That's
in its
wicked.
movement to be an accident. It floated with an almost ghostly grace, its vaporous form undisturbed by the hustle of the film crew around it. The most logical theory would suggest it was the spirit of a former patient, someone who had once walked the very halls where the film was being shot.
Yeah, man.
After all, mental hospitals have long been the subject of eerie tales, and their dark histories could easily be tied to restless spirits. But some have speculated that the figure might not have been a patient at all. Could it have been the spirit of an actor or actress who once worked in the hospital? Maybe someone who had spent time there during its operational years. From ghostly voices and mysterious figures to objects moving on their own, these haunting moments make you wonder if something
Brilliant.
more sinister lingers in these places.
Oh, they
If you
certainly
enjoyed
do.
this horrifying journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing discoveries. And remember, keep your lights on, because you never know what might be lurking in the shadows.
In the shadows. So that was pretty cool, wasn't it? So yeah, that was, I wouldn't say that was an actor, the last one. I'd say that was actually probably a patient, yeah, or an old doctor or something like that. But yeah, I mean, hospitals are brilliant paranormal areas, you know. I think they're wicked. They're really good. I always get, you know, probably the same for you guys, you know, who doesn't feel odd when you go into a hospital? It's just, it's the smell, and it's just the atmosphere, everything. You know, you don't know whether the person you're seeing, is he really there? You don't know, do you? You know. So that was 5 scary ghosts captured in hospitals. That's Mr. Fear. So please go to his channel and subscribe if you haven't already. They're pretty good by the looks of things. And do the same for us as well if you can. Much appreciated. I will see you again soon, or you'll see me again soon. And as I said earlier, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a change up on the videos. I'm just sort of doing a little bit of research with it as well. Take care, everybody. Alright, thanks for watching. Join us again next time. Alright, love you loads. Take care. God bless.